morning. Welcome back to Ready, Set, Sold. I'm your host, Bryan Vogt. Thanks so much for joining us. In the last segment, we talked about pricing your house right the first time and the importance of getting that done. Some of the things we mentioned is just less work, less struggle, less concern. A good rule of thumb, and I say a rule of thumb, every situation is different, but 30 to 45 days is usually when you're going to get your top dollar. It's when you're going to usually get something within 2% of where your house is priced at, or even less. And yes, depending on your market, it could be full price. We've seen that happen too. Our market has been very strong and has stayed pretty strong the start of this year. That's fantastic. So Phalan and Shiloh and Belleville and Edwardsville and Waterloo Skyforce area, Escudo, all those areas have been doing really, really well. Some areas doing better than others, but that's typical. That's just kind of how real estate works. So what we're going to be talking about right now in this segment is location, location, location. I would say that's the number one thing that almost anybody, whether you've ever sold a house, ever even bought a house, has heard of. So what exactly, though, does location, location, location mean? Well, location is simply what is going on in your location. And the best way to look at location is to start from in and work your way out. And what I mean in is not going saying that I live in O'Fallon, Illinois, and then where do I live in O'Fallon, Illinois? I live in the north section. And then what subdivision do I live in? And then bringing it down to the street. That's one way, but it's much better that you and your agent look at what's going on your street, what's actually sold in your street. And the location is going to have a big factor on that. So let's say that the average, and I'm just using this as an example, don't quote me on this. Sometimes I hear people say, well, you said this. I'm just trying to give you an example. Maybe your location is between $175,000 and $200,000. What that means is houses in your location, ideally on your street or nearby, have sold in the last 3 months. And that's kind of a key number to know. The last 3 months is what you really want to strive for. You can go 4 if need be, but you want to have the most current information. You've heard me talk about is that markets can change. I shouldn't say they can change. They do change in 3 months. Yes, they can go up, and that's a great thing. But they don't always go up, and things can go down. So you want to have the most precise information you can. They can change in 2 months. That's kind of 50-50. And they can change in 1 month. But 3 months is a very good barometer. So what is selling on your street or near you in the last 3 months that compares well to your home? That's a key factor. For example, as I said, 175 to 200. So that's a good indication that your house is going to sell within that price point in a certain period amount of days, and that could be, again, that varies. But I want to try to make this simple. That's your location. When agents, and usually it's the agents, move sellers out of their location, meaning is they move it to a different part of town, or they move it to another subdivision, that is usually spelled disaster. And the reason being is that every location has its differences. And what you're going to run into is that most times if a buyer is looking at it and they do question how the pricing came up, you're going to more likely than not be selling a house in another subdivision because they say, well, if this price is at $225 and they're getting $225 here and it's a closed sale, then maybe that's where I need to be at and not here at the $175 and $200. That's why it becomes so important. Your location means location, location, location. Where you're sitting at in the subdivision can be a factor to your advantage. Ideally, if you're in a cul-de-sac, that's a good thing. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have a dollar amount. It just means it's one more thing that you can have that other people don't have. Being in a cul-de-sac is a good thing. Maybe being on a corner house. Where you can get into problems is if you start putting a specific number on that. I.e., you had a situation where someone had a house that was a corner lot. Nothing wrong with that. However, the seller felt that that corner lot was worth $10,000 more. Not because of the location garnered it, they just put a price on it for $10,000. Well, in the end of the day, they didn't get the $10,000. They were on the market much, much longer than they ever expected, and unfortunately, they didn't get the pricing that they wanted to because they were on the market so long. Good question to ask yourself if you're a seller. When you purchased the home, what did you pay for a corner lot? What did you actually pay for the cul-de-sac? Most of the times, nothing or not much. But that might have been one of the factors that made the final decision on where you're living at. That you liked the idea of being in a cul-de-sac and you saw other houses that didn't have the cul-de-sac, that weren't the corner house. And that's where you have the advantage of your location. Using your location as an advantage of probably one of the reasons why you purchased the home to begin with. That also comes into play when you're talking about woods and lakes and golf courses. Think back. Did you actually pay X amount of dollars? Most buyers don't. They just don't. Now, it could very well be that you bought that to be on the golf course and that other houses had also gotten that price for being on the golf course, and that's your location. So you have three houses that are on location on the golf course, and they're all $250,000 range. Well, it's a good chance that that's probably the price range you're going to be in. And that's a great thing. So that's why it's important to have your agent and you understand what location means and why it's important when it comes to selling your home that you're using the closest proximity. Now, what if you don't have it, though? What if nothing has sold in the last 3 to 4 months? Now what do you do? Well, we've talked about this before, but this is where the experience of your agent comes in. It can be so vital in getting you top dollar in a fast sale. Because ideally, they have seen a house similar to yours that has the same, a very nice school district, not the same school district, but it's close. It has close to the same square footage. It has some of the great things that your house has as far as living rooms, dining rooms. And they can give you a very good idea on what that pricing is going to be to get you top sale. That's important to know. So if they don't have that information, that should be okay. If they have the experience, they should be able to give you still a good professional opinion of what your house will sell for in the open market. With that said, we're going to be talking in the next segment about some more great information that I think that you're really going to appreciate. You're listening to Ready, Set, Sold with your host, Bryan Vogt. We'll see you in a few.